A very good morning to one and all present here. I, Shubh Sharma, lead DSA Acropolis. Welcome to you all to the session of sentiment analysis of Twitter data. In today's massive social media community, Twitter is one of the most popular platforms. Twitter provides and encourages communications between multiple parties in a public forum, allowing people and organizations to get instant feedback, answers, or the general public reviews. Many organizations often analyze Twitter user sentiments to work further on a project. Today, DSC Acropolis is fortunate to have Mr. Upendra Kumar Tiwari as a speaker to make us understand, identify, as well as classify the sentiments that are expressed in the text sources. Mr. Upendra Kumar is a data scientist at Synergetic CompuSoft. Sir has 13 years of experience in the field and is always happy to share his experience with people around him. We are happy to have Mr. Upendra Kumar Tiwari with us today. We welcome you, sir. The stage is all yours. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Shuf. Thanks for this wonderful introduction. And before starting my session, first of all, I thanks to Praveen sir for inviting me for this session, and Naren sir as well as the Acropolis management for providing me this opportunity. So without wasting much time, let me start my session. I'm not much recording still. Let me check my PPT. Uh, First of all, please confirm me that my screen is visible to you all.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today we are going to do the sentiment analysis on Twitter data. And first of all, let me tell you that this analysis is solely the part of your data science. Usually, we apply our data science technique to get some insight from the data which are represented in the tabular form. But you know that in the world, 80% of data are not in the structured form. They are in the unstructured form in terms of the text, in terms of the images or videos. So analyzing them is very crucial. But yes, we cannot ignore, and we don't have any other option uh, except do the web scraping and analyzing these data. Means first of all, get the unstructured data, convert them into structured one, and then after you start your analysis part. Before starting the sentiment analysis, please tell me that whether you are aware of the different stages of data mining process or not. Please tell me in the chat box. If you are aware of, then I'll directly move to the sentiment analysis. Otherwise, I'll just brief what is the different stages of the data science process. Okay. Let me connect my user flag. Unfortunately, my digital pad is not working in the Google Meet, so I'll just move to the Paint. Okay. So first of all, we should know about the different stages of this CRISP PDM. This the full form of this CRISP PDM is a cross-industry standard process for data mining. Your data science phases, your data science process actually roams around this CRISP DM, the stages of your data mining, where first of all you start to understand your business problem. This is the basic stage. This is the first stage that we as a data scientist do. We meet to our client, we discuss about the problem, and we just try to understand what the desire of client. When we understand this business problem, then we come up with the business objective. And we come up with the business constraint. And after discussing with the client, when we draft this business objective and constraint, we write the first initial document, which is called as project charter, in which each and every thing related to the project or the is mentioned. For example, what will be the introduction to project, what we are going to do, who are the personnel who will be involved here, how the stages will be performed, what is the timeline of this, what are the risks that associates to this project, what are the commercial involved in it, what is the final budget we are going to charge you. Each and everything is mentioned here. Who is the team leader, who is the project sponsor, each and every things are related, things are mentioned here. Now, first of all, let me tell you what is this business objective and constraint. Business, let us take an example that some banking person came to me and they were telling me that, sir, basically we want to build a system which will be more secure, and we just want to know that whether the customer will be happy with this system or not. Means we are looking for the convenience of the customer, as well as we want to make our system more secure. So here, obviously the objective will be to maximize the security, as well as constraint is the condition or the ethics that we cannot compromise with. So whenever you start your business, you never compromise with the customer satisfaction. So here, if I am the customer of any particular bank and he has increased its security level, but as a layman or as a very, who is not much comfortable with the new technologies, will feel some sort of problem to handle with this software. That means the graph of the satisfaction level will low down. So bank will never want that due to its advancement in system, their customer is getting decreased. So what will it tells to the developer or any data scientist that, sir, kindly make such a kind of system which will be having the maximized security, but as well as my customers should also be satisfied. That means the constraint should be maximize customer satisfaction. And if I'm not wrong, in the software engineering, you must have heard about the different feasibility process. You go through with the technical feasibility, you go through with the economical feasibility, you go through with the political feasibility. The aim is that this project should not having a huge cost. This cost may be in terms of the monetary cost. This cost may be in terms of the operational cost, this may be in terms of the satisfaction level. So whenever we talk to our client, first we understand what is his desire. Then after we explain him that what we have understood after discussion with him. And on the basis of that, we tell him the business objective as well as the constraint of it. Once the business objective and constraint is finalized, then we start to do data collection. So once the deal is done, we will tell our client that, hey client, just give us the data so that we can develop our model, we can build our model. And friends, in real scenario, we found two kind of client. First, who is starting just his startup, or who has just opened his company, but he doesn't know about, he doesn't have any data, and he wants the model just for their profit maximization. That means we don't have data. We don't have data. And second kind of customer is there. Sorry, second kind of client is there who is having his own data. He will provide us and we will start to work on it. And maximum time we face the first type of client, that they don't have any data and we have to build our model on our own data. That means we have to create the data also. So as a data scientist, you cannot ignore that this is not your responsibility to create data. So even I'll tell you one thing. In NITTR Chandigarh, they have approached me and I was willing to join in the project. The project was related to the migrant worker. But government is not having data, so how can they build a model related to this migrant worker? And on the basis of that model, government wants to decide some policies that will be for the betterment of the migrant worker. And at least they will require 2 years to collect the data of the migrant worker. So here we have data collection. So if you are getting already data from your client, then you are a very lucky person. If you're not getting, then you have to start your data collection. There are two ways to collect your data. The first one is the primary data collection, where you just start to build some, you start to do some experiment, you start to conduct some interviews and start data collect on the basis of the interview. You conduct a survey, you float the survey among the users and you just get the data from there. So there are a lot of ways through which you can collect data primarily. The second option is that you can go over internet, you can get some data somehow similar to your problem statement, or you can extract the data from any database that may be open source or that may be the licensed version. You have to pay for them. So you have two kind of option for data collection. The first one is the primary and the second one is the secondary. So as I have told you, in primary, basically you conduct survey, you conduct some interview, you do some experiment. Means the data that here generated will be as per your requirement, as per your desire. But when you have secondary data collection option, then a lot of data cleansing you have to done, lot of data pre-processing is to be done, so that the data should be as per your requirement. As you collect your data, then you start do data cleansing. This is also called as data wrangling or data pre-processing. Then after you start to do exploratory data analysis. In data cleansing, basically, we just try to find out the outlier. We try to find out the missing value. We just, try to find out any noise which is present in your data and that may create trouble for your model building. You just try to remove them. You just try to correct them. These all are actually data cleansing processes. Once your data is ready, you try to visualize your data. Means you just try to get some insight from your data. You just try to find out some pattern in your data by doing some graph. This graph may be univariate or this graph may be bivariate. For example, histogram, by a bar graph, box plot, scatter diagram, QQ plot. There are a lot of diagram through which actually you just want to explore that what has happened in past and what is happening now. And on the basis of this, what has happened in past, what is happening now, you will be trying to answer that what will happen in future. That means you will be doing some predictive analysis. Till here, do you have any doubt, friends?
No, sir.
Okay. So should I move further?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the fourth one is that once you are done with your data cleansing, once you are done with your EDA, you will start to build your model. And you know that we have uh, three kind of model. The first one is your unsupervised model or unsupervised modeling technique. Second one is your supervised. And third one is somewhere reinforcement learning. Usually supervised means where you have input as well as the output which is dependent on this input. That means y equals to f of x. And this y is dependent upon this x. As the x will increase or decrease, the y will be changing with respect to this x. So in supervised modeling technique, basically we use for the predictive analysis. This unsupervised learning technique is used for pattern matching, grouping your data, segmenting your data, all the clustering, dimensionality reduction, sentiment analysis, or the text mining comes under this unsupervised learning technique. Once you are done with your model building, you will try to evaluate your model. That means model evaluation. The purpose of doing this model evaluation is to check the accuracy of your model. And on the basis of this accuracy, you will decide that whether this model will be acceptable or not. Okay. So this is the model evaluation. And then when you are okay with your model, you are satisfied with the accuracy that your model is giving, you can go for deployment of your model. Means, for example, you have built your model and your model is predicting 95% with 95% accuracy. Then you will create a user interface where you will require, where you will tell the user to fill the parameters. After filling the parameters, you will decide, you will predict the outcome for this newly data. So these are the different stages that we have in the CRISP DM. And in short, I'll tell you that there are 6 stages that are involved in this CRISP DM processes. Now, as I have told you that the sentiment analysis, text mining is actually the part of this unsupervised machine learning model. That means, although it's a text analysis, but still it will also be going through with all these 6 stages.
Sir, difference between supervised and unsupervised model.
See, The supervised machine learning model is that where you have your input as well as corresponding to output. But in unsupervised model, you don't have output. You will have only input variable. For example, your class result. Obviously, everybody will have the name. Everybody will have the roll number, your marks, okay, and the basis of your rank. So what I'll be doing here, on the basis of this result, I'll group them. That how many students are there who are lying between 60 to 70%, make a group of one. How many students are all those who are lying between 70 to 80%, group all them, and 80% above, group all them. So you can see here that I have created a 3 cluster. But can you tell me which one is the output variable here? The answer will be no, because in unsupervised machine learning, we don't have any output variable. We actually try to group our data. We try to group our data. For example, recently the Diwali festival passed away. If you, as a Prince Joseph, or if you have any departmental store or the supermarket, then you know that Diwali festival is there. You have to come up with some offer. Have you ever seen? That somebody has given offer on milk? Please tell me.
No, sir.
No. Have you ever heard that? Means if there is any item which is most frequent, the businessman is not going to provide offer on it. What he will do? He will provide the offer on only those products which are usually not most frequent. Now, if you tell me, sir, we have seen there were a lot of offer on the cookies or the biscuit, my dear friends, maybe that this offer was just to sell all those items which were not in demand right now. Basically, offers are made for those. So when, as a departmental store owner or as a supermarket owner, what I'll do, first of all, before deciding any policy, I will try to find out that which kind of customers are arriving in my store. Let me tell you that I had my data set. I grouped them into some cluster. And what I found that the maximum of the customers that visited to my superstore are actually electronic product buyer. They were less interested to have some food item from my superstore, as well as the clothing part. So what I'll do here, see, again, the policy depends upon the businessman, but here what I'll do, I'll give some discount on this food item and clothing, but for electronic product buyer, I'll go with some combo offer. And what it will do, buy one, get one free, first thing, or buy an electronic product and get this food item, something like that. So here I don't know that the customer is going to purchase clothes or not. The customer is going to purchase food item or not. The customer is going to purchase electronics product or not. I have seen that I have this kind of customer who are mostly willing to purchase electronic product from my superstore. That means I'm not going to predict anything for the future. I'm just grouping my data on the basis of the past occurrence. So if this kind of things you are doing, this is your unsupervised machine learning. If you talk about the supervised machine learning, so for example, let's say that we have the data. Okay, blood pressure. We have the data of fasting, and we have the data of PP. And on the basis of that, we are having a variable, that is the person is diabetic or not. So let us suppose that the person's BP is 90/30, 91/30. Fasting, it is having 125. PP is the blood check after having some meal. So let this is 170. So the person is diabetic? Yes. 80 upon 120. Fasting value is 95. PP value is 110. Diabetic? No. 91/30. 100. 140. Diabetic? No. So if a person is having blood pressure of this much, fasting value this much, PP value this much, whether the person is diabetic? Yes. So these are the input, and corresponding to this input, we have this diabetic status as an output. Now, let us suppose that if a person is having 80 upon 120 blood pressure, fasting value, let us suppose that 105, PP value it is having 135. Now, whether the person will be diabetic or not, you are looking for this answer. So here what you are trying to do, you have input and corresponding to the output. Now, these all are your historical data. On the basis of the model that were built on this historical data, you are trying to find out some outcome of the future data or the current data. So here you have given input. On the basis of this input, you are trying to predict some output. So whenever this kind of things are happening, they are comes under the supervised machine learning technique. I hope that I have answered your question.
Sir, in unsupervised also we have got the output that just like the example you mentioned, electronics items are being purchased much. So we got the output that.
No. Friends,
Okay.
in unsupervised machine learning, we are just trying to answer that we are just trying to group our data. Okay. Let me come to my example. Can you tell me that whether the person will purchase electronic product or not? Can you tell me?
No, sir, we can't tell.
So that means you are not aware of your output. You are not aware of your output. Here, actually, you are just trying to do some pattern matching. You are just trying to group your data, but you are not aware of your output. But here, if I ask you that, obviously in real scenario, you know that the status of the person is diabetic or not depends upon these values. On the basis of this value, doctor says you that the person is suffering from diabetes disease or not. So whenever you want to predict something on the basis of the current data, on the basis of the present data, if you want to predict something about the future data, so that means whenever you try to do some prediction, your model will be built on the basis of the supervised machine learning technique.
Okay, sir, I understood.
Okay. And second thing, that whenever you found this y equals to fx relationship mainly, then you can say that here the supervised machine learning technique is applied. Okay. Forget about the data is categorical or continuous. Whenever you found this kind of relationship, although this is reflecting the linear relationship, but I am telling you that I'm not bothered about the kind of relationship between the X and Y. This may be linear or non-linear, but your Y will be dependent on X. When this kind of relationship you found, it means here your supervised machine learning technique will be applied. Now, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, in short, there are 6 stages which are comprises in the data mining or the data science process. So, how can you ignore these processes in your text mining or the sentiment analysis? So here we'll be seeing these concept, and this is the today's agenda. What is the importance of the text mining? What are the bag of words? What are the different terminology that we use in the pre-processing technique? What is this document term matrix and the term document matrix? What is the corpus? What is the positive and negative word clouds? Then if time will permit, then I'll be explaining about a project that we have worked upon the clinical trials and how can we do social media or any web data extraction. This social media and web data extraction is actually called as web scraping. But I think I'll not be covering this in today because I'll not be getting this much of time. If my time will allow, then I'll surely discuss this web scraping part. Word cloud example. Basically, even if you have somewhere try to get data from Google form and when you see the Google Analytics, you see this kind of word cloud. Here, actually, the size of data represents the frequency of occurrence of this data. That means if you see here, the size of data itself, this one is having most frequent occurrence. And this underdeveloped or this problem, this common, they were least occurred. That's why their size are differing. And there is no role of color in this word cloud. The color coding you just use for giving the presentation in your lucrative way, attractive way. Otherwise, color is not having any role in this word cloud. But yes, the size of the word plays an important role in this word cloud. Higher the size, higher the frequency of occurrence. Lower the size, lower the frequency of occurrence in the word cloud. So why do we use this text mining? Because you know that in the real world, only 20% are structured data, 80% are unstructured. So first of all, we need to cleanse them, we need to convert them into structured, and so that we can do some analysis on this unstructured data. This text mining or may be used in your call transcripts whenever we have sent the email to customer service, social media outreach, speech transcript, field agents, salespeople, interviews, and service. And you know that they were the major role to come BJP in power was social media analysis. The BJP, Bharatiya Janata Party, has used this approach. They have just go with the social media trend. They have just tried to analyze that about the voter sentiments through social media. And if you recall the things in the 2014, then in social media, Namo Namo was very popular, and their digital marketing team, their IT cell, found that yes, if we float this kind of messages over social media, then surely the voter will be in favor of us. And how they come to know this? They have just done their sentiment analysis. Same way you can see that other parties are also, floating some messages. The messages may be true, the message may be fake. And I'm not particular to any party, BJP, Congress, whichever party they all are doing same kind of thing. They are floating the messages. Some are true and some are fake, but the reason behind this is just to make the voter in favor of them. Okay, and how? Just to play with the sentiments of the voter who are residing on the social media. Now back of words.
Sir, we are not getting your voice.
You're not getting my voice. Okay. Okay. Now am I audible?
Sir, we are not getting your voice.
Now am I audible? Shubh, now am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. And friends, please respond in the chat box.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So, Aman, can you tell me up to which part I was audible?
Sir, agenda.
Okay, after agenda, I was not audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now am I audible clearly? If I am audible, just respond in the chat box +1. Okay. So I'll have to start again with so this was the agenda. Let me come to this word cloud. I was explaining in the word cloud that this word cloud is basically used for sentiment analysis, and here the size of word is actually tell about the frequency of occurrence of this particular word. Higher the size, larger the size, higher the frequency of occurrence. Lower the size of word, that means least occurrence of the word. Okay. And here you are seeing that the different words are having different color. So my dear friends, there is no role of color in this word cloud. The different color coding technique has been used just to present your word cloud in more attractive way, more lucrative way. Okay.
हेलो उपेन सर, दिस इज प्रवीण.
Yes, sir.
सर प्रेजेंटेशन शेयर नहीं हो रहा शायद आपका. कैन यू प्लीज शेयर योर प्रेजेंटेशन?
Okay, sir. हाँ, अभी वो एक्चुअली से दिखने के लिए हो गया सर. प्रवीण सर अब है
या
और सर ऑडियो
यस परफेक्ट.
Okay, sir. So friends, again, I'll repeat this one, that if you are having word cloud, then the size of data actually tells about the frequency of occurrence of this word. So if the word is having larger the size, that means it was the frequency of occurrence of this particular word was very high. If the lower the size of the word, means least it has occurred in your text. Then I was talking about this text mining importance. As you know that in the real world, we have only 20% of the data which is in a structured form, 80% are in the unstructured form. So usually through web scraping, first of all, we try to access this unstructured data. Then through some data cleansing technique, data pre-processing technique, we convert them into the structured one so that we can apply all the data science technique over this text. And this text mining, may be used for the call transcript, email to customer services, social media outreach, speech transcript, field agent, or the interviews and surveys. We can use this sentiment analysis. And I was telling that in 2014, the social media plays a drastic role in the BJP favor, and that is why that in that time a word was very popular, Namo Namo, and their IT cell actually analyzed the sentiments of the voters, that on which messages there is a strong sentiments of the voter. So they were just trying to float that kind of messages so that the voter can be in favor of the BJP. And right now every political party are doing same kind of thing. They are floating some fake messages, they are floating some truth over the social media, just to divert the voter in favor of them. And not only the BJP, every political party is doing same, just to play with the sentiments of the voter and just to deviate or just to divert them in their favor. So you all have studied the English. Not if any English professor will be telling this paragraph, all the words stays, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. So as an English professor, what I'll be trying to do, I'll just trying to explain this paragraph in what context the author is telling this line. But as a data scientist, as a statistician, what I'll do, I'll count the occurrence of every word in this paragraph. For example, the word in this paragraph has occurred only one time. Stays has occurred for only one time. Men has occurred for 2 times. Women 1, so on and so forth. So that on the basis of this occurrence, I can create some word cloud. And on the basis of that word cloud, I can do some sentiment analysis. Okay, till here, things are okay, friends?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, as I've told you that if you are doing your data analysis, whether on the text mining or any structured data, you have to go through with all the processes, all the stages. So here, your text analysis also go with the pre-processing technique. But before that, let me tell you the different terminology that we use in the text mining. The first one is that you have the data. So let's see here. Yeah. So for example, you have written your paragraph. Obviously, this paragraph, this page will having the different line. I'll be considering each and every line as a row. And in my text processing, in my text mining, these rows are actually called as document. And even we have a empty row that will also considered as a document. So what we found here, row means document. And in our practical aspect, we know document is the collection of pages, but here the document is actually a row. Single row is called as document. And The collection of these rows, the collection of this document is actually called as this corpus or corpora. Means the entire page will be considered as a corpus, while every line will be considered as a document. Okay, and what we do here, you know that in the when we write a paragraph, we use several type of typos also, that uh, for lots of laugh, lol we have used, or we start the word always when initially we start the word with first letter will be capital, then other will be smaller. Sometimes if we have to shout on anyone, then we write in the capital letter. So when we write the paragraph, we use the lower case, we use the upper case, or we use the proper case. Okay, just we use in the paragraph writing. We may use some special symbols or the punctuation. We may be using some joining words, but as a data scientist, they are not of my purpose. They are not my cup of tea. I'll be removing all these things. Either I'll be converting all them in the lower case, or I'll be converting them into the upper case. I'm not going to, entertain any paragraph which is in the proper case or the mixed version of uppercase as well as the lowercase. Okay, so first of all, I'll be either removing these typos, or for example, tell me any typos example except this must. For example, yeah. Okay, somebody has written lots of laugh. Somebody has written the entire full form. So what I'll be trying to do here, I'll try to bring this typos in its original form. Original form means whichever short form we have used, I'll try to convert them into the full form. This is the one processing technique. Second, if the paragraph is written in the combination of the lowercase and uppercase, then I'll be just converting them into the lowercase only. I'll be removing all the punctuation and the special symbols that are not for my use. Same way, I'll be removing all the connectors, all the pronouns, all the joining words from my paragraph. That means my focus is to find only those words which are not the typos, which are only in the same case, they are not the special symbol, as well as they are not any joining words. Okay, so these are the different pre-processing technique we do in our sentiment analysis or the text mining. If you see here that we have document term matrix as well as term document matrix. So for example, this is the item that were purchased electronically. Now we have got some review of this item, of this product. We got some reviews. Now in reviews, all the words that were used except the special symbol, except the joining words, all the words that were used here, they will be called as term. And you know that every row is called as the document. So here Let us suppose that we have picked the 100 reviews. In 100 reviews, the different term was keyboard, USB, free, hard, something like that. We got this kind of words, this kind of term in this review, in this feedback. So what I'll be doing here, I'll be just counting the frequency of every term. So this is called document term matrix. Why? Because in the row side, we have document, and then in the column side, we have the term. If in the row side, we have the term, and in the column side, we have the document, then it will be called as TDM. So document term matrix, term document matrix. Just when we have, transpose this DTM, it will become the term document matrix. And why we create this matrix? Just to find out the frequency of every word. So for example, in the first line, in the first row, in the first document, the keyboard word was occurred for 4 times, USB for 1 time, and free never occurred, hard for 2 times. So we'll be counting the different occurrence. We'll be counting the frequency of occurrence of every term in each document, in each row. And then after, we will be doing sum of it. We'll be doing sum of it. Now you can see here, the total document is 100. The total document is 100, while the sum of occurrence of this keyboard is 200, USB is 50, free is 100, and the hard is 80. Let us suppose that. So you can see here that there is a scale issue, a scaling issue, because the occurrence of keyboard is 200, USB is 50, free is 100, and hard is 80. So what we will do here, as whenever our data suffers from scaling issue or our data is having unit, then we do some normalization or standardization. So here also we will do some normalization, and normalization means the total document is having 100, frequency is 200, so document frequency will be 2. Total document is 100, total frequency is 50. So what will be the document frequency? 0.5. How? Actually, the document frequency we are getting here by the formula total sum of frequency of particular term upon total document. And this is why if we talk about this keyboard, then the total sum of frequency is here 200, upon total document we have 100. So the document frequency we got here is a 2. Same way, the total sum of frequency of a USB is 50, and total number of document we have 100. So that means it has become 0.5. Same way, 100 upon 100, 1. 80 upon 100 becomes 0.75. So this is actually called as TF-DF. Okay? Term frequency, document frequency. Now, if I divide this total sum, upon document frequency, it will become TF-IDF, and this is the library that you use in your text mining. So total sum here, the 200 into 1 upon 2, and you can see here it will become 100. If you divide 50 into 1 upon 0.5, so obviously here it will be 10. Okay, 5 in 10 is 50, 10 into 10, that will be 100. So basically, when your data is facing some scaling issue, in case of text mining, in text of textual data, then you do some TF-IDF to normalize them. Friends, getting my point here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is actually the TF-IDF that we do for the normalization or standardization of our text data. For textual data, we do this kind of thing. Now, I welcome everyone to ask any question related to this particular slide, document term matrix, term document matrix, or TF-IDF. If you have any question, then you are most welcome to ask it. Okay, no issue. So in this way, we actually do some standardization, we do some normalization just to make the data scale free as well as unit free. If your data is having unit, and again it will not be used for our purpose, because if I ask you that can you compare, if I ask you that can you compare 170 centimeter and 50 kg, which one is greater, which one is large? Please tell me.
We can't compare, sir.
Why?
Both are of different units.
Both are of different unit. If you find this kind of data in your data set, you would have to do normalization or standardization. You have ever heard about this formula x minus mean upon standard deviation, or min max scaling? So these all are used for doing normalization or standardization when you have structured data. When you have textual data, then you do TF-IDF for doing normalization or standardization. Okay, same way, let us suppose that in the third year of Acropolis, the total strength is 1500. Out of this, don't feel offended. Out of this, let us say that 200 are having 80% marks, while there is any other college, or let us suppose that this is the Orient University in Indore, which is having 1500 in their third year, out of which only 200 got 80%. There is Acropolis, which is having 1000 students in their third year, out of which 180 got 80%. Can I say that Orient University is having more students who are having 80% marks? Can I say it?
No, sir.
Why?
Because total of both universities are different.
So what will be the percentages here? If we are having total 1500, then what, and 200 got 80%. What will be the percentages here? Hmm. Somehow, how much percent? Friends, I'm 200 upon 1500. What will be the percentage? Please tell me. $200 upon 1500. The percentage is 13.3. Let me take it as 14%. Here, 1000 upon 180. So 180 upon 1000. It will be 18%. Although the number is large here with comparison to Acropolis, but the result of Acropolis is higher than the result of Orient University. Why? Because, and why this kind of issues were coming? Due to the scaling problem, due to the scaling issue. So what we have done here, we brought both data on the page of 100%, on the scale of 100%, so that now the Orient University and the Acropolis will be lying on the same page, and then the comparison were made. Otherwise you won't be having the good result, because here, if anyone will say, okay, in Orient 200 students is having 80%, while in Acropolis only 180 is having 80% result. So this kind of analysis will never accept it, and this kind of issues are called as scaling issue. So whenever your data is facing any scaling issue, or whenever your data is having unit, then you need to do some normalization or standardization. Same way, here if you see that
सिर्फ मेमोरी में से अगर हम क्या
here if you see that the total frequency of the keyboard was 200 while USB was having 50. So you cannot compare, because there is an scaling issue. Just to cope up with this scaling issue, we have come up with this TF-IDF, term frequency inverse document frequency, to cope up with this scaling issue. Now, when we have standardized our data, then after we just try to build the word cloud. This word cloud may be unigram, means word cloud made on the single word, or this may be the bigram, the word, the cloud which has been made on the basis of the 2 words, trigram on the basis of 3 words, or n-gram, the word cloud which consists of n number of words together. So corpus level word cloud means whichever data you are having, whichever text data you are having, you have just processed them, you have cleansed your data, you have removed all the joining words, you have removed all the, special symbols, you have brought them into a single case that is smaller. Then you created your word cloud. You can create the word cloud of the positive review, like here. You can create the negative word cloud also, that what are the different negative words that customer has given as a review for our product. Okay, so this was the project that we did for the clinical trial, and here again we followed this stages. The objective was to increase the success rate of the clinical trials, and the problem with this was that we had the data which was in the XML. So first of all, we have extracted them and we converted them into the structured one. And then after we performed some word cloud and sentiment analysis. I have made you familiar with this term frequency inverse document, frequency, positive and negative word cloud. Dendrogram, I'll not be able to explain here. Although let me tell you that this dendrogram is used in the hierarchical clustering, and how many cluster you will be creating in the hierarchical clustering technique, it depends upon the dendrogram. Okay, so this was the different word cloud that we met on, and on the basis of that we have concluded something. So just making your word cloud is not only the task. Once you have created your word cloud, on the basis of this you have to draw some insight while seeing this word cloud, and this is the dendrogram. On the basis of this we can decide that how many cluster your document may have, and this is always subjective. It depends upon person to person. Diagram word cloud, you can see here the word cloud is made on the basis of two words: slow enrollment, study terminated, terminated due, slow accrual, termination reason, C termination, terminated early. That means here the word cloud was built on the basis of the diagram. This is the scree plot. I'm not going to explain it, although let me tell you that the scree plot is used to decide the number of cluster in the case of k-means clustering. So here we come to the end of the theoretical aspect of sentiment analysis. Till here, if you have any question, then please let me know in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself to ask the question. So friends, do you have any question? Okay, no. Priyansh has said no. Okay. If you don't have any question, then just write N in the chat box. I'll understood. Okay. Now let us come to the practical aspect. Let me search first where the program is. Friends, first of all, tell me that whether my screen is visible to you all. Is it readable,
sir.
or should I increase the font size?
Increase, sir.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
So whenever you have to analyze this Twitter data, then you need to import this TweePy library. Okay, and this text blob word cloud is used to create your word cloud. You know that NumPy is used for numerical calculation, and this pandas is used for data manipulation. Whenever you want to create your data frame, you use this pandas. Okay, so let me run this line. Okay, so it has run. Now, here you are seeing that whenever you have to analyze any data of any Twitter account, then you should have this consumer key, the secret key, access token, as well as the access token secret. And just to get these key, although these are the private key and it never should never be shared, but the beauty of the Twitter data is that whenever you create your key, it always try to regenerate. Whenever you will try to access it, it will regenerate itself. So if you have to get this key and this secret key, this access token and access token secret, then first of all, you need to create account in the developer.twitter.com. So how will you do it? You just go here, type apps.twitter.com. Okay. When you will be doing here apps.twitter.com, then yes, here you see the create app. You just click on it, give the name of the app. Let me give it as Acropolis underscore 0811-2021. Okay, you may give any name, but here I'm just giving this Acropolis underscore 0811-2021. Now next, then you will see here the different keys and tokens. And what I do, I just go to the dashboard first. After going to this dashboard, I click on the name of my app. I just click on this. Then here you can see I have this setting option as well as the keys and token. So what I do here, I just go to this keys and token. First of all, I will regenerate for API key and secret. When you will click on this regenerate, so here this will be your API key and this will be your API key secret. Copy this one. Let me do one thing. I'll just create the new file. Sometime it gives some error, so I will not take any risk. Control A, Control C, and I'll just paste here. Okay, so and friends, please keep in mind that this untitled is the new one. So I have run this. Then here you can see that the consumer key and the consumer secret. So this API key and API key secret will be for API key will be for consumer key, and consumer secret means we are talking about the API key secret. So what I'll do here, first of all, I'll copy this API key from here and I'll be pasting here. Okay, then after I'll copy this API key secret and then I'll paste here as a consumer secret. So till here, what I have done, I have given my program the consumer key as well as the consumer secret key. Now, still I need this access token as well as the access token secret. So again, come to this page. Okay. Go to here and you see that we have this access token and secret. Go and click here, generate. Then just copy this access token and paste here. Then copy this access token secret and paste here. Now let me run this. If any error will be there, it will show some error. Yeah, no error is there. The line runs smoothly. So what we have done till here, we imported all the necessary library just to do the sentiment analysis on Twitter data. Then we went to the developer.twitter account and we get this consumer key, secret key, and the access token and the access token secret. And my dear friends, if you want to have this key, first of all, you should have your Twitter account. Without having Twitter account, you cannot get this authentication key. Then we are just authenticating this key, and for this authentication we have tweepy.auth handler, and here I'll be mentioning this consumer key as well as the consumer secret. That means this two value will be as an argument to this object authentication. Let me run this. So it has done successfully. Same way I'll do for authentication of access token and access token secret. Perfect. Then I'll be creating this API. Okay. Now we will be importing this Twitter library for doing the sentiment, for getting the tweet data. Now I'll just go to the Google and I'll search for the Twitter name of Sachin Tendulkar account. Sachin Tendulkar Twitter account. You can see here the Twitter name, Twitter ID of Sachin Tendulkar is @Sachin_RT. So what I'll do here, I'll copy this one. I'll copy this one and I'll paste here. Okay, and my that obviously the extracting data takes time. So what I'll be doing here, instead of taking 150 count, I'll be taking only 100 Twitter data. So first of all, let me show you it's Sachin Tendulkar's Twitter data. So wish you a very happy birthday, Prithvi. Happy birthday, Brett Lee. A proud husband and father. This is the message for Virat Kohli, Suresh Raina, Rohit Sharma. So these all data will be extracted from here and it will be in my temporary variable. So let me run this. Okay. And for this is, I am using API.user_timeline. And you know that this API we got from here, which were actually used to get the authentication information. So let me run this one. It will take some time. Okay. Now, if I see this post, click on this one. So these are the different status of a Sachin Tendulkar Twitter account. Now, I'll just want to see first 5 of you. You can see some first 10 tweet of the Sachin Tendulkar. So if I'm writing here 10, then it will be first 10. So you know that in Python, the indexing is start from 0 and it goes to n-1. So whichever value you will give here, it will reach to -1 of that. So here we have mentioned 0 to 10. That means it will run for 0 to 9. Let me run this one. Yeah. So tweet underscore full. Yeah. First 10 tweets. First tweet was, wish you a happy birthday, Prithvi. May you achieve all the success that wish for. So we have extracted this from his Twitter account. Then, happy birthday, Brett Lee. Here it is written, have a good one, mate. A proud husband and father. Okay, so in this way, it takes the tweet data, and how we have taken this tweet data, just only basis of this key and secret key. And you know that Twitter allows to extract data, but Facebook does not allow. So you cannot do, you cannot extract the data from Facebook because it does not allow now. Although earlier it was allowing for doing some text analysis, but right now, in present, it does not allow. If you want to do some sentiment analysis on the social media, then there is a Russian website named as LiveJournal. I think LiveJournal is there. You can extract data of that LiveJournal and you can do some social media analysis, but Facebook does not allow. So till here, we have authenticated ourselves. We have extracted 100 tweets of the Sachin Tendulkar. Then after we have visualized first 10 tweet of the Sachin Tendulkar. Now what I'll be doing here, I'll create a data frame for this tweet. I'll be creating the data frame for this tweet, and you know that these tweets are in the post variable. Okay. So let me run this line. So this is the tweet dot full underscore text, and it will be keeping all the tweet from the post. And this post is the variable which is actually holding the 100 tweets of the Sachin Tendulkar. Now I'll be transferring them into the tweet dot full underscore text, and this will be kept inside this df variable, which is actually the data frame. So let me run this. Okay, so you can see here that at any row, so at every row, we have the tweet of the Sachin Tendulkar. Now, friends, can anyone tell me in text mining what is the row is called? When we have to deal with text data, then how we call this row? This is called as document. So we have how many documents? We have 100 documents. We have 100 documents, and you know that count equals to 100 we have given. That means we were extracted only 100 tweet data from Sachin Tendulkar Twitter account. If you want to show the see the dimension, then you can see here that we have one column and 100 rows. So how many terms we have? Only one. How many? Sorry, not here. How many row we have? We have 100 rows. Then when I was starting my presentation, I clearly mentioned that before doing text sentiment analysis, we do some pre-processing, we do some data cleansing. So here, what we are going to do, whatever letter, if that is capital, then we will convert them into lower. If there is a 0 to 9, then we will remove them by just replacing with the space. When we'll be getting a special symbol, again we will remove them. When we'll be getting this kind of words, we will be removing them. When we will be getting this kind of word, we will also remove them. Okay, the motto is just to have only the word which may be used for our sentiment analysis. Now we'll be applying this function for our tweet data. So before this, first of all, let me show you the post. So what's happened? Post df, yeah. Okay, so here you can see we have this HTTP, we have this @ we have this 58. We have this @. So what we will be doing here, we will remove all these we'll be removing all these special words or the numerical number or HTTP, each and everything we have removed, and for this we have defined a clean text function. So we are calling this clean text function for our tweet data, Now if I run this one, okay, again if you see this data frame, then you can see here that now we don't have any special character, we don't have any numeric, we don't have any STTP, we don't have any RT. Each and everything we have removed as our data cleansing process. But the problem has arrived here that when we have removed the special symbol, or when we have removed any number, then instead of this, a new space has been created. So we have removed them also. Now, what we will be doing here, we will writing all this cleansed data in a text file named as tweets.txt. Let me write it as Acropolis tweets. Acropolis tweets, or let me write it Sachin tweets. So what I'm doing here, the cleansed tweet data, I'm just going to store them in a text file. So let me run this one. Okay, then the tweet data has all the content of this data frame is converted, is transferred into, or is copied into this Sachin tweet.txt. Let me check whether is this. So just to know about the current working directory, you need to import this OS library, and os.getcwd, you get the current working directory where this file will be present. So this is in the inside C user admin. So let me go over there, C users, then admin. Friends, please help me. Where is this text file? So what I'll do, I'll just search here. Sachin tweets. So you can see here that we have this Sachin tweets here. Okay, we have this Sachin tweets here, and if I open this, you can see that we have the data from 0 to 100, and it is having the cleansed text, cleansed tweet data of Sachin Tendulkar. Now I'll be trying to get the subjectivity and the polarity of this tweet. The subjectivity refers to the subject, as well as the polarity refers to the neutral or not neutral. So
Ankit, just close your mic.
now I'll just apply this subjectivity to my DF. Okay. Polarity also. Actually, for example, the polarity and the subjectivity, basically through subjectivity and polarity, we try to find out which kind of document is it. Again, the scaling is 0 to 1. If the value of subjectivity is near to 1, that means the data is more subjective. If the value of polarity is near to 1, that means this is the data is polarized, and this is, deviates for, or the data is in favor of any particular thing. Okay, for example, you can even try to do the you can find out the polarity of any message float by any particular party, and you can see there that the through polarity you can find that whether your data is partial or it is bent towards any particular theme or message. Now what I'll be doing here, I'll join all the tweet in a single paragraph, and for this we have dot join function, and for through this join function what I'll be doing, I'll join every row into a single paragraph. Okay, let me show you. You can see that so here this is the subjectivity and the polarity value. But here all the rows that you are getting here, they have combined into a single paragraph. Why am I creating the single paragraph? So that I can count the frequency of every particular words, and on the basis of this frequency I can create the word cloud. Okay. Then now you can see here I have splitted every unique words. I have splitted every unique words, and you can see here that we have total 2,985 words inside this paragraph. So what I'll be doing here, again, I'll call this TF-IDF, and I don't need to explain about the purpose of using this TF-IDF. So I'll just do convert into the vector, and here they will be from unigram to trigram.
Hello,
Yes.
Upendra sir.
Uh-huh.
Sorry to disturb you, sir. Sir, how much time it would
I'll
take
just
for
take
this?
I'll just take 10 minutes more.
Because it's lunch time for the students at
I'll
1:10.
take 10 minutes and
Okay, sure, sir.
okay.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Yeah, actually, my motto is to, if you are seeing here, then each and every concept should be in your mind. And if anyone will ask you that how this has come, you can easily explain it. Otherwise,
Sure, sir.
it won't take much time. So here, you see how we create the unigram or bigram or trigram. So let me write a paragraph. Acropolis is a renowned institute in India. So what will be the unigram? Unigram will be Acropolis. One is a renowned institute in India. If I need to create the bigram, so how will this bigram will be created? Acropolis is a renowned institute in India. If you need to create the trigram, so how will be creating it? Acropolis is a, then is a renowned. a renowned institute. Renowned institute in. Institute in India. So in this way, we create our unigram, bigram, and trigram. Then what we do, we already have some list of positive words, negative words, so that we can match our text with these positive words. If there is a match, then there will be the positive word. If there will be no match, then they are the simple words. If the word will match with the negative file, negative words text file, then they will be the negative words. If there is no match, then they are not the negative words. Same way, we create our stop words file also, so that we can exclude all those words which are actually the stop words. So let me show you. You can see here that although I have downloaded this stop words from the internet, so if your data is containing these words, then they will be considered as stop words. So we will try to exclude them from our paragraph. Same way, we have the negative words. If this kind of words we get in our paragraph, then they will be considered as a negative words, and our system will try to count the frequency of these words. Same way, we have the positive words. So these are the words that we have collected from internet, or you can create your own positive words, negative words, and the stop words. So I'll just explain only one part, then after I'll run everyone. Okay, so what I'll do here, I'll remove all the stop words which are in my paragraph and they are matched with the stop words file. Okay, then stop words is not defined. Okay. So what does this mean? It means I now in my IP underscore review underscore words, I don't have any stop words. And you can see here that from any place, if I have removed the stop words, that has becomes the empty row. Now what I'll do here, I'll combine them into a single paragraph. So here I have converted him into the single paragraph. You know that how join works. IP reverse underscore string. You can see here now that is the single paragraph. So what I'll do here, I'll create the word cloud as the corpus level, means for entire document. So you can see here that this is the word cloud of the entire paragraph. So here the congratulations, wishing, AMP, they have occurred most frequently. Although I think data cleansing was not done very proper because this is why this HTTPS is coming. And you know that we have removed HTTP, we don't have removed HTTPS. This is why it is coming. So that means we need do some data cleansing more in this data. Now, same way, what I'll do, I'll try to match all those words which are the positive words from my positive text file, and then I'll combine them into a single paragraph. Then after, I'll create the word cloud. So let me run all this at one go. Yeah. So this is the positive word cloud of mine data. And if you try to find some insight from it, then yes, you can say that maximum time happy words has occurred. That means customers somewhere happy to this product, although we are analyzing here tweet data. But whenever you are analyzing the sentiment for any product, and if at that time this happy could have appeared, then you can guess that the customer is happy with the product. Same way, you can create the negative cloud. The same process will be applied, but here instead of positive.txt, we'll be using the negative.txt. Okay, so this is the negative word cloud for the data that we have. So in this way, you can do some sentiment analysis, and this is the basic concept that we do in the sentiment analysis. And still, if you're not happy with your word cloud, then you can again approach the data cleansing process, and you can do some stemming or the lemmatization. The stemming means you don't bother about the logical meaning, while in lemmatization you bother about the meaning of the data. So I'll not be covering them due to the shortage of time, but here that is mentioned in this program. If you want to explore it, then you can easily explore. And if you if you have any issue at any particular moment, then you can drop me an email on my email ID. So this is my email ID. If you have to explore more about this natural language processing or natural language understanding, then you can drop me an email. And if you stuck anywhere, then I will respond through email. So I'm stopping here. If you have any query, then you can ask. Otherwise, we'll winding up this session. And I'll send this program as well as the PPT to Praveen sir or Naren sir. You can get from him. So friends, do you have any question, or should I wind up this session?
I guess there is no more questions, so we can end.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir, for an interactive and informative session. We feel grateful to you all the knowledge that you have provided us today. I am sure we all going to gratefully benefited from today's session. I extend my gratitude to all the audience for spending some time out from their busy schedule for attending the event. I express a sincere thanks to Upendra sir for an informative and grateful session. The links of our Discord server and social media platform are posted in the chat box. If you all can join us community, on the Discord and other social media platforms to get updated about the events or workshops and interact with our DSC team. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.